Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another one of my declutter videos for 2021. If you guys missed the ones that I've already done, I will link them in the description box below, and then I will have a few more coming your way throughout the month of March. So today I'm going to go through and declutter my bronzers and highlighters. I actually don't have a lot of bronzers in my collection, but I do have a good amount of highlighters. I actually haven't added too many cheek products to my collection over the past year, so I've just been shopping my stash, and because of that, I definitely have a good idea of what I like to use, the products I tend to skip over. So I'm going to declutter shades that don't look great on me or formulas that I don't love. I don't have a specific number in mind. I probably won't get rid of like half of my collection. I just want to remove the products that I'm not reaching for and pass them along to someone else who can enjoy them. I have a lot of cousins, sisters, family members, friends who love makeup, so nothing is going to waste unless it's old or expired. But let's jump into it, and I will let's start with highlighters. So one formula that I do like that I just don't reach for enough, so I want to pass it along to somebody else, is this one from e.l.f. It is the e.l.f. Nebella Noir Highlighter. This is such a gorgeous highlighter. I don't know if they still sell it. If they do, I will link it below. But if you like loose highlighters, you'll really enjoy this formula. I actually used it a good amount, but I go through phases where I like loose highlighters and then I don't. And over the past year, I've really just been reaching for pressed powder highlighters overall. So I feel like this one is just sitting in my collection, going to waste. And because it is so beautiful, I just feel like somebody else would be able to enjoy it. So I am going to declutter this one. A formula that I know I want to keep would be this one from Becca. So I have two of these full-sized highlighters. These are the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfectors. And unfortunately, Becca is closing at the end of September. I am so sad. I never go through highlighters, but I was actually able to hit pan on one of these. So I did hit pan on Champagne Pop. This is such a beautiful gold. It is my absolute favorite highlighter to ever exist. I just like the texture. I deal with a lot of texture on my cheeks, so sometimes highlighters can really enhance that. And on days where I just want my skin to look a little extra smooth, this is the perfect formula. So I actually bought a backup of this. I never buy backups of cheek products, and I try not to do it in general, but I just feel like I'm going to go through this and I'll never be able to find my perfect gold highlighter. So I did buy one while it's still available, but in the meantime, I'm going to work my way through this one. The other shade that I love is Opal. This one is a little bit cooler. It's so pretty on the skin. Honestly, if I had to get rid of all of my highlighters and just keep like two, I would keep Champagne Pop and Opal. I also have a little mini version of Opal. I'm going to keep this one as well when I travel, or when I used to travel back in the day. This is the one that I would bring with me just because it is perfect. It's just small and compact. So I'm going to keep that one. And even though Becca is going out of business, I think I am going to declutter Rose Quartz. So I've kind of been getting back into pink highlighters lately, and I do have a few in my collection. I added a couple of pink highlighters over the past few months, and there are other shades that I like better on my skin tone than this one. It's just, I don't know, it's a little bit too soft in a way, so I feel like I just don't reach for it very often. So as much as I love Becca, I just don't think I need to keep this one in my collection. As for pink highlighters, I just recently got this one. It is from Buxom. It's their new Wanderlust Glow Highlighter in the shade White Russian. This highlighter doesn't look like anything special in the pan at all. In fact, it looks a little bit dry, a little bit lackluster, and even when you swatch it, it really doesn't look that special, but on the cheeks, it looks amazing. It gives your cheeks just like this pretty bright pink effect. I'll swatch it for you guys. I don't know why, but it looks so underwhelming when you swatch it on the hand, but once it's actually applied to the face, it looks really, really pretty. So I am going to keep this one. It's kind of like a good daily pink highlighter because it's not too intense or too sparkly. It's a little bit more subtle. It just looks pretty. I don't know why I'm jumping all around here, but let me show you two of the other pink highlighters I have. So this one is new. It's from Soul Body. It is the Pink Truffle Highlighter. It was actually part of ColourPop's Valentine's Day collection. This one is pretty sparkly and really intense. It does have some glitter in it. I don't usually like super glittery highlighters, but for some reason I like this one. If I'm doing like a really dramatic look, or I just want something a little bit more fun than my typical highlighters, I usually like more of a subtle highlighter. This one is perfect, so I am going to keep this one. I also have the Soul Body highlighter in the shade Soft Pink. This one doesn't really have like glitter or really obvious shimmer in it. It's a little bit more subtle than the last one I showed you, so I am going to keep this one too. I also really like Ofra Rodeo Drive. This is like the older Ofra packaging, but this highlighter is still good. I feel like this is a good alternative to Champagne Pop if you're looking for one. It's a little bit more maybe like yellow gold, and Champagne Pop is slightly more peach toned, but they both look really beautiful on the skin. I like the Ofra highlighters because they are so lightweight and you can build them up to be pretty intense on the cheeks, but I do love this shade, so I am going to hang on to this one. I think I'm going to declutter this Laura Geller highlighter. I don't know. I feel like I think I love it, but I just don't reach for it that much. It's in the shade Gilded Honey. It's such a pretty color, but I think when it comes to gold highlighters, I kind of have my personal preferences and the shades that I reach for over and over, and this just isn't typically one of them. I don't know. For some reason in my mind, when I think of this, I think I love it, but I just don't practically reach for it very often. So there is no point in keeping it in my collection when I have other options that I like a little bit better. I love the Anastasia Beverly Hills Amrezy highlighter. I almost skipped out on this. When they initially released it, I missed out on it, and then so many people were raving about it. So when they re-released it, I decided to pick it up, and I'm so glad that I did because I enjoy this one so much. I just recently got the new Anastasia highlighter. What is the shade? Iced Out, and it's not in here because I'm still kind of testing it. I don't like it as much as this one though. The texture isn't quite as smooth. So I want them to come out with more highlighters in this exact formula, just in different shades. I feel like that would be amazing. So I am going to keep this one. I also have these gold highlighters. These are from e.l.f. They are the Metallic Flare highlighters. So I think I talked about these in a video where I talked about products I changed my mind about. Some products I changed it from good to bad, some from bad to good. I liked these when they were initially released. I think at the time I didn't have a lot of highlighters in my collection, but e.l.f. recently came out with those blush duos that have a blush and a highlighter in them, and I like those so much better. These feel a little bit dry, so I don't know if they just expired or if I just changed my mind about the formula, but either way, I just don't reach for them. And it's not because I don't like a subtle highlighter, because I do, but I think when you look at these, you expect them to be a little bit more intense than they are, and they're just not as intense as I want them to be. So I'm just going to pass them along to someone else. They're just not something that I reach for super often. They're so pretty, and I did enjoy them at one point, but they're not doing it for me anymore. This one is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter. It's just a good option if I want a super, super natural highlighter. I don't typically wear this one a whole lot these days, but there are days where I just don't want anything too intense, but I feel like I need something, if that makes sense. So when that's the case, I will reach for this one. It's like a baked highlighter formula. It's very subtle. It's pretty on the skin though, so I am going to keep this one. I can't decide how I feel about this one. This one is the Fenty Killawatt Foil Highlighter. It comes with two shades, Sandcastle and then also Minted Mojito. So I have this in my everyday makeup drawer right now, and I do like it. Like, I end up reaching for it, but I don't usually wear it as a highlighter. I feel like I end up reaching for it as an eyeshadow, an inner corner highlight, and I love it for that purpose. But do I need to keep it in my collection for eyeshadow? I have so many eyeshadows. I think the reason I don't love this on my cheeks is because the formula is a little bit heavier than other formulas, or it tends to enhance texture, and I always deal with texture like right on my cheekbone, just because I feel like that is a really sensitive area. So I don't know, I just wore the blue one the other day and it was really pretty. I never wear a blue highlight and I really liked it. I don't know why I'm so torn on this one. I feel like one of my teenage cousins who are like cool and they do fun makeup would enjoy this a lot more than I do, and I just feel like they'd be able to get a lot of use out of it. I haven't had it for a super long time, so I'd just rather pass it along to somebody else who could enjoy it fully and get more use out of it than I do. I do have 3 of these ColourPop Super Shock highlighters. I do love this formula. Let me swatch these shades to see if they're all shades that work well for my skin tone, because I can't remember off the top of my head. This lightest one is kind of like an icy highlighter. It's called Seismic. This pink toned one is called Out of Quartz. And then this one is Wisp. Wisp is one of my favorites. I do love this shade. I tend to reach for it. Mine's getting a little bit older, but it's one of their original shades that I love. Out of Quartz is just a little bit too dark for my skin tone, so I am going to declutter that one. And then Seismic is pretty. Just for your reference, in case you want to check them out, this one is Out of Quartz. It's a really pretty color. I like the kind of softer pink tone, but that is one I'm going to declutter just because I feel like it's a little bit dark for my skin tone for what I typically like to wear. This one is called Seismic. It's from the same collection. I don't know why I can't remember which collection this is from. I just remembered. I think these are from the collection when they released That's Taupe. But anyway, this one is like an icy, frosty highlighter. I don't wear these super often, but there is the random occasion where I do like to wear them. So I'm going to keep this one. And then Wisp is really pretty. I feel like I need to replace mine soon because it is a little bit It's like getting dried out. I've had it for a while, but I love this one. It's a little bit softer. It just looks really, really pretty on the skin. So I'm going to keep those two. Over here, I do have some highlighters as well. I have these two from Kaleidos. So I like Kaleidos eyeshadows. I think they are so gorgeous. They're really unique and the formula is amazing. And I would say that this formula is good. I just don't wear these very often. So this one is Solar Sailor. They made their way through my last declutter, but I haven't really worn them a whole lot since then. This one has like a really pretty gold reflect to it. I'll swatch them for you. This one is called Star Surfer. And this one is a little bit more pink toned. So I think they're really pretty. They're just a little bit too glittery for what I like to wear. Star Surfer is a really pretty pink. This one is really interesting, Solar Sailor. That's just not like a color of highlighter that I wear super often. I was kind of wearing it on the eyes or as an inner corner highlight. And it's really gorgeous, really unique. I just feel like they go to waste sitting in my collection because I just don't reach for them very often. So I am going to declutter these as well. So these are all my bronzers. I think this one is a bronzer too. So I have 4 more highlighters to go through. I do have 2 from Ofra. This one is the Start Inspired Highlighter by Samantha March. I love this one. There's a gorgeous pink and then also a gold. So you can mix them together or you can wear them on their own. And I love the way that this one looks on the skin. It is amazing. And then I also have the Ofra Highlighter in Glazed Donut. Again, this one is like a true intense icy white highlighter. So now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I don't need to keep this one and the ColourPop one because again, it's not a shade I wear all the time, just on occasion. So I think I'll keep this one and declutter the ColourPop one. Let's see what they look like next to each other. I think they're pretty similar. I think the ColourPop one has like a little bit of glitter in it and the Ofra one might too, but I feel like the Ofra one looks a little bit more seamless on the skin. And if it comes down to it, I'd probably reach for Ofra over ColourPop. I don't think I need both of them just because I don't wear this type of shade super often. So I'll declutter the ColourPop one and keep the Ofra one. And then I have 2 limited edition highlighters from Smashbox. This is back when Smashbox was doing just like gorgeous collaborations. This was part of the Crystallized collection. I still love this one and it still works well. It's not too old. It's a little bit more of a dry formula, but when I want like a really pretty pink highlighter, I like this one. It kind of has like an interesting shift to it. It's a little bit more, how do I explain it? I feel like it's almost a duochrome, like it flips from pearl to pink. I just like it and I do use this one probably like once every other week. And then this one is from the Smashbox Petal Metal collection. This packaging for this collection was like my favorite packaging to ever exist. I thought the products were so beautiful both inside and outside. And this is just like an interesting formula. It still works well. I know some people ask me like, how do you know when your products expire? When it comes to powder products, sometimes it's harder to know, but if the texture isn't the same or the color or the scent changes, that's when I know it expires. Typically when it comes to highlighters or bronzers, if they're not applying like they used to, then I do feel like the formula has changed and I get rid of them. But this one still works well, so I'm going to hang on to it for now. I still enjoy using it. It's really pretty. It's a little bit more subtle, but it's just one of my favorite highlighters of all time. Before I move on to bronzers, I have a few more highlighters over here. So this is the Catrice Glow Squad highlighter palette. I picked this up a few months ago because I was trying to do a video reviewing all of the new makeup releases, and honestly, I just fell behind. I like Catrice products. I don't know that I've tried a lot of their cheek products or highlighters. I don't like this. I feel like it doesn't look good on my skin. Some of them are a little bit glittery. If you like glittery highlighters, you might enjoy this, but the formula as a whole is not very smooth or seamless on my skin. So I am going to declutter this palette. This is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter palette. I love this. I just did a TikTok. I'm on TikTok now. I'm having so much fun just doing like quick short videos, but I did a TikTok sharing underrated products at Ulta and I mentioned this. This comes in the palette that I have and then also a deeper version. These don't look like they're going to be that good. Like they kind of look dry and chalky in the pan, but they look really pretty on the skin. They're pretty powdery. I mean, looking at my palette, you can definitely tell, but I don't know. I just like this palette. It's under $10. You get 4 pretty big highlighters. You can mix them together, use them on their own, but it is one of my favorites, so I am going to keep this. This is the Flower Beauty Shimmer and Strobe Highlighting Palette. Again, I've had this for a while. I know it's a little bit older, but it still works well. I think that it looks so pretty on the skin. This formula is probably the closest formula to Becca that I've found, so I do want to keep this in my collection. I love that you can mix the shades together, wear them on their own. I haven't used it as much over over the past year as I used to, so maybe I'll put it in my everyday makeup drawer and get some more use out of it while it is still good because I do love it. The last 4 highlighters that I have are these giant highlighters from Soul Body and ColourPop. I don't know, I'm like torn on these. I wish they wouldn't do this giant packaging. It's just so big. And the Soul Body ones are meant to be like face and body powders. So technically if you use body highlighter, then you can use these on your body, although you can just use any highlighter on your body, honestly. But I think that's why they are so large. Honestly, I can never get this packaging open. It is so hard to open for some reason, which does kind of discourage me from using it. So this one is platinum. It's really gorgeous. I think if you like a super icy highlighter with like a hint of yellow, you'll enjoy this one, but I don't think I've really used this over the past year, so I am going to declutter this one. I just feel like the color doesn't look great on my skin tone. I'd rather go with like the super icy highlighter or something a little bit deeper rather than this kind of like white gold. This one is Rosé. Again, this one's a little bit dark for me. I'm surprised it made it through my last declutter. I haven't really worn it over the past year because typically when I go for highlighter, I do go for something a little bit lighter just on my skin tone. So I'm going to declutter this one as well. But the formula is good. I'm not getting rid of them because the formula is bad. They're just shades that I don't reach for super often. These next 2 are from ColourPop. I feel like ColourPop has been doing smaller versions of these, which I appreciate. I just don't need such a large highlighter in my collection. I never go through highlighter even when it's small. So when it's this big, it's just impossible. I'll never use it up. So this one is from their Coral collection. I actually thought this collection didn't get as much love as I thought it would. I think it was a delayed release because last year they were closed for a while and I feel like it meant to come out in the spring and then they released it right before the fall. Anyway, let me swatch this one and the next one for you. The next one is called You're a Catch. I actually really like this one, so I am going to keep it, but I'll still swatch them both for you. This one is You're a Catch. It's a really pretty like pinky pearl. It's pretty icy. It just has a hint of pink. And then this one is the coral one. I feel like the coral one looks kind of underwhelming in the swatch. I can't say that I've worn it a lot, so it's definitely not a must-have for me. I think I will declutter this one as well and just keep Your Catch. Okay, so I kept 17 highlighters. They are all in this section right here, and then these 3, and then I am decluttering 14. So I'm actually decluttering a lot more than I thought I was going to. I did not expect to cut my highlighter collection in half, but I think after just really shopping my stash last year and focusing on what I have, I definitely have a feel for which ones I reach for, which ones I don't. And if I'm not reaching for them, I just don't need to keep them. So I will be decluttering these. So I currently only have 8 bronzers in my collection right now. I'm not sure how many I'm going to get rid of. So I guess let me start with the ones that I wear the most. So right now I'm really wearing this one. This one is the Too Faced Chocolate Gold Bronzer. I do feel like it's a little bit dark for me. Mine looks rough. It really does, but it still works so well. I don't know why the product looks so textured. I haven't had it that long, so it's not expired. I just feel like sometimes when I use like a blush or a bronzer quite a bit, it ends up looking like this after a while. So I'm still going to keep this one. I feel like it's my favorite bronzer right now, especially during the summertime. It just kind of gives my face like a warm golden glow. I'm also going to keep the balms that Take Home the Bronze. I have the shade Oliver. This is another one of my favorites. It's just a very smooth formula. It looks great on the skin. I haven't been reaching for it as much as the Too Faced bronzer because I've kind of been into like a slightly shimmery bronzer, but when I want a matte bronzer, this one is perfect. I think I will declutter this one. This one is the ColourPop bronzer in the shade Talk to the Palm. I don't know, ColourPop's powder cheek products don't always do it for me. I do like some of them, but I feel like I have other formulas that I like just a little bit better. And I don't know that this is the most flattering color on my skin tone. It's a little bit too dark unless I have a tan, but I only have a tan for like 3 months of the year. So I just feel like I'm not getting enough use out of it. I am going to declutter it. I do love the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer. I have the shade Forever Sunkissed. This one's getting a little bit older, but it still works well. It's definitely a good alternative to the Balms bronzer. It's very blendable, very smooth. It is a fully matte bronzer, so again, I do like using this one, and I'll definitely hang on to it. As for baked bronzers, I have 2 right now. So I recently purchased this one. This one is the Milani Baked Bronzer, and I really like this one. So this one does look very warm on my skin. It definitely has like a slight orangey undertone, but I don't mind that if I'm doing like natural makeup and I just want something to kind of warm up my skin, especially if my foundation is just a little bit too light, which does happen. This is very subtle, very blendable. I also like using it as eyeshadow when I'm doing like quick 5-minute makeup. So I am going to keep this one. Because I'm keeping this one, I think I'm actually going to declutter this one. It is the Flower Beauty Heatwave Luminous Bronzer, and I have the shade Sunrise. I really like this formula, but ever since I got the Milani bronzer, I haven't been reaching for this one. Now, this formula is so blendable. It's so gorgeous. It kind of has like a red undertone, so I feel like when I want like a blush and a bronzer all in one, this is what I reach for. But I also haven't been going for that look a whole lot lately. My face tends to be a little bit red. Like if I'm hot, it's red. If I'm cold, it's red. It's a little bit red. So because of that, I tend to skip over bronzers that have like a slight red undertone these days. So I'm going to declutter this one. It's great, it is, but I feel like because I'm keeping the Milani bronzer, I don't need to keep the Flower Beauty one. I'm also going to keep this Milani bronzer. It is their Silky Matte Bronzer. I have the shade Sunkissed. When I originally purchased this, I didn't like it. I did not understand the hype because I felt like it was a little bit dry, kind of subtle, but I think that's why I've come to appreciate it. It just blends out well. I don't use this one as much as some of the other bronzers in my collection, but I still like it. I think the actual color is lighter than the Too Faced Chocolate Gold and the Balms bronzer, so this one has been good for me during the winter time, and even heading into spring, I'm sure I'll be able to get some use out of it. This one is from Ofra and Samantha March. It's her Bronzer River Duo. I really, really like this one. Again, it's a little bit warm toned, so I feel like it's nice to have when I need to warm up my foundation if it's a little bit light for me. One side is shimmer and one side is matte, so I do like using this and kind of mixing it together or using the sides separately. So I think I'll keep this one as well. Over here I have the Smashbox Contour Palette. This is pretty old. I have used this quite a bit, but I don't really contour anymore. I don't know. Do you guys contour? I feel like I'm just lazy with that. I feel like it was really big a few years ago, and I'm too lazy to go in with that extra step. So typically I'll just take bronzer and use that, and I won't even use it to contour. I'll just kind of use it all over the face. So I think I'm going to declutter this. I haven't used it, and if I ever do want to contour, I feel like I could probably just use eyeshadow, but I'm honestly just too lazy for that these days. So I'm going to declutter this one. And then this one is the Essence Sun Club Matte Bronzing Powder Palette. I love this formula. I actually forgot that I had this. I don't know why. Maybe it was in the back of my drawer. Now that I know, I'm going to pull it out and put it in my everyday makeup drawer. These bronzers are so blendable, just really easy to work with. And that's typically what I go for when it comes to bronzers. So I'm going to keep this one. I didn't declutter too many bronzers. So I kept 7 bronzers and I'm decluttering 3, but I don't really want to get rid of any other ones. I feel like I reach for them. It's nice to have a couple of options in my collection. I mean, I don't have a ton. I feel like I don't need a ton of bronzers because they all kind of do the same thing. So I'm good with keeping 7 and getting rid of 3. Okay, so here's a look at my bronzer and highlighter collection. Typically I store like blushes, bronzers, and highlighters in the same drawer, so it will be a little bit more full, but anyway, here's a look at the before. These are all of the products that I had in my collection before I decluttered, and then here is a look at the after. I feel pretty good about my curated collection. These are all shades and formulas that I love. And then these are the products that I am decluttering, just passing along to friends and family. So I started out with 41 products. I decluttered 17 and kept 24. So I actually ended up decluttering 40% of my collection, which surprised me. I feel like I'm always surprised, but I just didn't expect to get rid of so many highlighters, but I'm glad. I feel like it's nice to just kind of open up your collection and see things that you love, because otherwise the other products are just kind of standing in the way, and then I feel overwhelmed and I feel like I have to use them even though I don't love them as much. So anyway, that is the end of my declutter video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to check out more of my declutter videos, there should be some popping up on the right side of the screen, or you can check the description box below. I will be uploading a few more, so make sure to subscribe or stay tuned because they should be up over the next week or two, and I'll see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye.